Ever since Donald Trump's tariffs have been placed on China, we have the Chinese using various methods in order to propagandize against America. Obviously, their methods, there's really no need to apply them when it comes to liberals, since they've made it, pretty vocally known that they're anti-American, despite living in America. But anyway, one of the things that they've done, Chinese manufacturers have been encouraging Americans to buy directly from them, exposing how they make all of the luxury brands, name brands of European and American brands, and the only difference is the labeling. And what I just want to talk about when it comes to this, there, well, most importantly, there's people pretending, people who are boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, they're acting as if they are in shock and awe about the realities of brands manufactured overseas, particularly in Asian countries, and how they mark up the prices. I mean, literally, this is a thing that people have been aware of 30 years ago. Now, people who are teenagers and maybe even in their early 20s, you can give them somewhat of an excuse of not being aware. But to see all of older people, older than teens and early 20s, acting shocked about this, it just really shows the endless supply of insincerity that exists, particularly amongst libtards. I mean, again, years ago, Nike using child labor to make their shoes. Matter of fact, there was a lawsuit about child labor still being used by the Nike brand that took place in the 2010s. And again, we can't forget the Disney Mulan live action movie, which was literally made by an active concentration camp that holds I think they're called the Uyghurs, in some Muslim group in China. They have a concentration camp for them. Of course, all of your virtue signalers, all your social justice activists, none of them have ceased consuming mainstream brands despite knowing that they operate alongside of active concentration camps, despite knowing about their use of child labor and cheap labor, which is akin to slave labor. All of these people in America specifically that will speak ad nauseum about their concern about this narrative of slavery when it comes to this country openly endorse current day slave labor and child labor, also that they can consume mainstream product. And now you have some of these very same people advocating being in alignment with the CCP, which is, again, trying to use TikTok as a means to entice Americans to buy directly from them. Like, that's why, yes, it's important to mass deport illegals, but just as important, and I feel like in certain instances, more important, we need to get rid of the American-born anti-Americans, which is who and what liberals are. I mean, because they have always been antagonists when it comes to this country, deeming this country first and foremost as being on stolen land, constantly trying to hold America responsible for the slave narrative that they regurgitate, while playing blind to Muslims, African countries' involvement and continuation of slavery that they partake in, particularly in a country like Libya. where you have video and pictures showing evidence of, chained together slavery, the slavery that these people claim to cry about, that they never personally experienced. Well, we have a lot of personal experience, or at least via it existing in our lifetime, of slavery going on. And instead of fighting against it, they want to fight in support of it. Because these people don't want manufacturing to return to the United States, because they hate America. And I'm talking about people who are liberal, born in America for generations. But anyway, this is old news. People have been knowing about this. I knew about this as a child from watching specifically cable news, where they did specials talking about this sort of nonsense. And so it's really comical. But it's comical in a unfunny sense, because it's laughable that these people pretend this way, but it's also disturbing because, this is what these people do. They this sort of consciously enacting cognitive dissonance. Again, it's like seeing cities nationwide burn and still saying it's peaceful protest, as if you don't see the buildings burning. But various brands, particularly Louis Vuitton, issued a statement trying to contradict the narrative. But again, this is a thing that's been known, and it's all in the pursuit of this globalist agenda that liberals specifically, and most notably, have been pushing. Primarily of the Democrat Party. Both parties are involved, of course, but it's always the Democrat Party that leads the anti-American charge. And again, people have been knowing about the stories of Apple using slave labor, cheap labor, to manufacture their products. I mean, we've heard about the stories where they even constructed nets, so when people attempt to commit suicide, they are unsuccessful. And again, all of these bleeding hearts, if I've been made aware of it, they've been made aware of it as well, and they are aware of it. But as in all things that they virtue signal about, they don't actually care, which is why I refuse to give two rat craps about anything any lip-tarded idiot has to say, because I know every single letter that's composed into every single word that they say is insincere. Always has been, always will be.